here again, and we are back again. As always, I'm Matt.
I'm Drew.
And this is the Back Again podcast. This is the only movie review show where we take a sequel from the past and find out if in fact it is worth going back again. We are on our action movie sequel list, and today we are doing the follow-up to Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and we're doing Lara Croft Tomb Raider Cradle of Life.
In 2300 BC, an Egyptian pharaoh found a place that he named the Cradle of Life. And there he found a box which contained life and death. And it has never been seen since.
Cradle of Life comes out in 2003. It's directed by John DeBont. It's starring Angelina Jolie, Gerard Butler, Ciarán Hinds, Chris Berry, and Noah Taylor. After coming across a golden sphere that reveals the location of Pandora's box, Lara Croft must team up with a flame from her past in order to stop a group of evil archaeologists from getting the box first and ending the world.
Evil archaeologists.
I didn't know what else to call them, to be honest, because
they're like, he's a businessman.
Yeah, I mean, they all are, because even like the villain in the first one is essentially just another kind of archaeologist who also does business, but I bring him up because in the third act of that first movie, the reason why they bring Lara Croft along for the final act is because he says it's better to have two archaeologists than one, or two explorers than one, or something like that. And the reason I bring that up is because these guys are also evil archaeologists, I guess. But they don't bring a reason why they bring her along for the final battle, because they catch her like twice.
Yeah, they there are plenty of what I like to call ideal execution scenarios where, if the bad guy had any brains, he could have just saved himself a lot of trouble by very easily killing Lara at least like 3 times he had her at gunpoint, like outnumbered.
Yeah, they capture her one time, then Jerry Butts saves her, and then they capture her another time, and it becomes a thing of like, you're going to show me where the Cradle of Life is.
But they already knew where it was, didn't they?
They have a map.
Well, that's the thing, is she didn't even know, because she needed to talk to, I looked up his name's Kosa, I believe. I think she had to go to him to find the way to the Cradle of Life. So it's like, why didn't the evil archaeologists just go to him? They just think they need Lara. She pretends that she is like important, and then the villain believes that.
Yeah, or maybe they're trying to do a thing where if they bring her along, then she can be, the bait, or, sometimes with some of these places there's traps and stuff. So in the final act of this movie, they're walking through like a forest type thing, and all these Dementors come out of the ground.
They're just Dementors.
And they're taking everybody. But at that point, even again, he threatens to kill Kosa, and Lara Croft decides like, okay, fine, I'll show you where it is, just don't kill him. But he could kill either one of them because they both know technically where to go. All right, before we get too carried away, let's go back a little bit and let's actually talk about this plot, right? So, this comes out 2 years after Lara Croft Tomb Raider. The first one is directed by Simon West. That movie that comes out in 2001, it's got a budget of like $106 million with a box office return of $274.7 million.
So wait, did the first one cost more than the second one?
Well, that's why I wanted to bring this up, because now we have the second one that comes out in 2003, and I don't know if this is accurate or not. I tried to find it, but it says that the budget for this movie is like $95 million.
Yeah.
So it says they had less money for this movie, which
I think that's wrong.
Which I think they have more visual effects in this movie because...
But the technology is also better. So they could do more for less, and it's not great.
Well, yeah, and I'm bringing it up because, like most original movies, they often go more practical. And trust me, there are CGI effects in Lara Croft Tomb Raider from 2001 with like the robot that she's fighting and like the whole, final act of that. But there are a lot of like sets, I would say, and that's what kind of makes that movie just unique. There was never a location in that first movie where it didn't feel like original to some extent. Within the second one, though, there is a lot more CGI, and these sets are often just like, they kind of look like sets where it's just like a cave, so it's like a tight compacted space. But then there's 2 other big action set pieces, and one of them takes place outside in like Chinatown, right? And then the other one takes place in like a science office building. So it's like, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, where are the tombs?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. It's definitely a case of that thing where the budget restraints, or at least like the restraints that they thought they had because it was just a first time movie and they were still proving themselves, ended up making the end product better because they're using the restraints to think more creatively. They can't just go shoot on a street somewhere because they don't have the I guess they would have the budget, but they don't have like the say with the production company because they haven't proven themselves yet. Now we need an action set piece. Let's go shoot on this big street. People like that stuff. It's generic. It probably wasn't so much back then, but that's just what they filled their set pieces with for the sequel. They didn't have to think creatively.
Yeah, it doesn't fit Lara Croft though, because within that first one, even though those other set pieces, they had to be more creative and they had to like, find fun ways to get her to fight, that kind of fits in with her life because we take her as like a James Bond meets Indiana Jones hybrid.
Yeah, she's like she's good at improving in those fights.
Yeah, and she's very intelligent as well. They do give her a crux in both of these movies. In the first one, the crux is her father, which is essentially kind of our context to understand how she got the way she is, but it's also the main source of kind of the plot and getting her moving forward as she's trying to like find the answers to her father's disappearance. With the second one, she's still that same explorer, but there doesn't really seem to be a driving force to why she's doing this. It's not like it's because of the grandiose of Pandora's box because it's something that's never been discovered before. There's a throwaway line where she says in the beginning of the movie, like, if it exists, it's meant to be found. And then at the end of the movie, she says, not all things are meant to be, uncovered. Like some secrets are meant to be left away. But then they still introduced Gerard Butler's character into the movie that gives her some kind of crux again. So she doesn't really get an arc as much as she kind of gets sound bites, very similar to Snake Plissken, where she says one thing in the beginning of the movie or the contrary thing at the end of the movie. But the movie's not really about her. The first one was kind of about her because her father was in the plot, but this one's just about...
It's about Pandora's box. It's about the Cradle of Life, which who cares? That's just supposed to be a MacGuffin. And it's got that Greek connotation, that mythology behind it that they don't really use at all. They take the myth and then they change the story. And it's like, why are you taking the myth if you're just going to change the story? Just do something original.
Well, both movies, I will say, are different enough to where this is kind of its own movie. You don't need to see the first one to watch this one.
Yeah.
But they both rely on similar beats that kind of get us started. The difference is just kind of with the sequel, we get there faster. So in the first one, she finds she hears something ticking under her stairwell, and then she gets through it, and then she finds like a clock, and that clock was left by her father, and that's what kind of initiates her going off on whatever mission she's going off onto. With this one, we open with an earthquake, and then a bunch of people are exploring the area around the earthquake because apparently there was a lost temple down there that Alexander the Great founded. So Lara Croft comes, jet skiing in, she finds the temple, but the whole point of finding this temple, just as much as finding that clock, is to give us a map to something. And with this temple, they find an orb that they will later discover has a map imprinted on it. I guess if it's taking forever for me to say this, the point I'm trying to make is that this is what the whole movie's like. It's just a lot of explaining of what we have to do, what we have to find, and how we're going to get there.
The main difference between the two movies is that the first one, everything revolves around a main character. It all revolves around Lara Croft. That's why it seems so tight. That's why it seems so distinct. In this one, she is not that central force. We have a plot that's happening that is completely separate from her character. The earthquake is not related to her. The Cradle of Life is not related to her. The villain is not related to her. And the villain just has... they paint him up to be like this huge, like, egomaniacal bad guy, and he's like all bark no bite. We barely see him do anything threatening, like, actually.
He said that he's got a bunch of people on a plane. He says he gives one of them Ebola, and then he dies in front of all the other associates, that's what you want to call it. And then he gives out like a little pill that's the cure to Ebola.
And then they all take it.
But does that ever come back into play later?
I think they're trying to say something about him as a character, but I can't tell what it is. And it sucks because that was the scene where they introduced him. So it's like, right off the bat, it's like a big misstep of like, how is this guy being... I can tell, like, you're trying to make him threatening, but it just seems clumsy.
If we want to kind of now segue over, we can kind of talk about Gerard Butler, Jerry Butts, Jar Jar Butts, Lee Daniels, the butler. I'll tell you what, I did not know he was going to be in this movie. I probably should have known. But when he popped up, I was like, Gerard Butler? Oh, now we got a movie. Because the throwaway guy in the first one that she kind of flirts with or whatever is Daniel Craig doing a really bad American accent. So we get some true accent Gerard Butler acting across Angelina Jolie, who's doing a fake accent. Like I said, he's just better than Daniel Craig. It's nice to have him on screen. And it's nice that they were trying to do something with bringing up her past, but he's got very like cliche traditional lines or like, you and me were cut from the same cloth.
It really sucks that like the screenwriters can't find a way to explore this character's past that's not like through men. How do we explore her past in the first one? Oh, her father. Oh, well, that makes sense because she's an archaeologist and her father was an archaeologist. Well, how do we explore her past in the second one? Well, she probably dated someone hot who was also a spy, right?
But you're absolutely right. Like they don't have any kind of connection to who she is unless it's through some kind of man that's been in her life. And I mean, even like the two people closest to her are also men. So she doesn't really have any.
That shark she punched was probably a female.
It's probably a male. It is a female shark.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that really quick because I was also surprised. Like there was two things that surprised me. One was Jerry Butts, and then the second one was this fucking shark scene.
God.
Where she draws blood to get the shark to come over to it. I thought she was just gonna like dodge a bite and then jump on the fin and then ride it to the surface. No, she punches it for respect, I assume, and then she rides it to the surface.
That's exactly what happens. She punches it and then the shark respects her. And I would love to see this scene written out like in script format to see like how this shark's actions are described.
They do the shark punch, and then I guess another kind of ridiculous kind of thing that they do is the motorcycle thing with her and Gerard Butler when they're on the Great Wall of China.
Oh my God.
She's riding the motorcycle.
I was imagining it being realistic and them actually having like tourists on the wall that they're just like blowing past. That wall was empty. Was there anything we liked about the movie?
I mean, I like this world because this is very similar to like a hybrid between like The Mummy and National Treasure. Then obviously like the more classic ones are Indiana Jones and stuff. But you know, we don't get that many movies that's about kind of world adventures.
Mm-hmm. Globetrotting.
So, yeah, I mean the first one I think accomplishes that more. The second one it's kind of more cheesy about it. It's kind of like just a glossed over version. I do like some of the stuff they did. I just wish that they were in more tombs in this movie. Like when we were literally in the streets of like Little Tokyo, and then we were also in that science lab. I was just kind of like, we just watched like 8 of these kind of movies. I don't need to see another one.
Yeah. Get
to the tomb, and even the final tomb, I would argue, is a cave.
Yeah.
And maybe Tomb and Cave is similar, but
No.
it's just very tight. Like, remember in the first one, they had that whole kind of rotating ball thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they all had to climb it and stuff. Like, there's no big sets that are fun, that show what she really does. Like, the best tomb is honestly in the opening of the movie, which is Alexander the Great's tomb.
I think it really just boils down to that. It just, there's no story with what they're trying to do right now. They have a world and they have a character, but everything that is like meant to support those things is like sponge. It's like not supporting anything. I'll tell you what, at the very least, they didn't fall into the trap of like designing a prophecy around her and making her be the chosen one. You were foretold that you would find all these treasures and you would unite them into a prophecy that would, she could like build like an Ark of the Covenant with all the treasure she's got, and then it could be foretold in the prophecy.
You know what? If they were going to give her a secondary character to do something with, why not it be like another archaeologist that is kind of like her, but
that's not evil.
But it's like a competition.
Yeah. Jardy Butts should have been a rival. He should have just been Indiana Jones with a Scottish accent.
We also said about him, like, if they're gonna do a kind of flip with his character and make him the bad guy, do it earlier. Like, do it so that way when we're in the final act, it's just her and Jerry Butt going off one-on-one. Because there was a moment where she's fighting in the cave, the main bad guy, and I'm like, dude, she's just like fist fighting like a 49, 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
After she took out like robots before, mercenaries, monsters, all this kind of, and then she's just like wrestling with a 50-year-old man. It's like this final act should be her and Jar Jar Butts. I don't understand why Butlers R Us isn't like there with her.
Yeah, that's stupid because she has the emotional beat with the guy that she should be fighting, and then she has the fight with the guy that she should have an emotional beat with. Because they could have tried to make this villain connect to her insofar as like they're both after these ancient treasures, and you could just play him up as like a Palpatine-esque, like almost campy bad guy who's just in it for the lulls, and then
he's in it to what, end the world?
Well, yeah, that's the thing
which is so stupid.
They do it, but if you're gonna make him like an edgelord, then like lean into it. Just have him be like this emo fucking nihilistic douchebag.
They don't even explain why he...
Because it's good for business. The apocalypse is good for business. You sound like a fucking moron from like the 60s, like about like nuclear like weapons. If they were going to do something like that, they should have had him directly contrast Laura's point of view on taking these things and what she does with them. How does she use them? Is that evil compared to him? I'm just trying to give some kind of dynamic between the protagonist and the antagonist. It has a skeleton and like nothing else. I think it's more disappointing than a lot of the other ones because it has that skeleton is potential. It's something. And then there's just a lot of nothing that's connecting, that's holding the pieces together.
And it's really interesting too because I mean we've already talked about like the budget in the box office, but just do the Rotten Tomatoes score. The first Lara Croft Tomb Raider has a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
But then the second one, Cradle of Life, has a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. And to be honest, like I can totally see that with the second one, 24%, but I think this is a really harsh score for the first one. 20%, like if anything, I'd maybe give it like 48%.
I would give
it 50.
I would give it a low 40.
But the idea that the second movie
is better. Yeah.
Just based off of like the execution, the storytelling, and like even the event of it all, right? Like no, the event was way bigger in the first one because if you remember in the first one, they had to time it up with a specific day, whatever they were doing. Like they had to get this little device into a thing and they had to do it by this date at this time.
That's a ticking clock for you.
Yeah, that's a ticking clock, or else they were going to have to wait another 4,000 years.
Yeah.
With this one, there was no ticking clock.
Well, it was the bad guy was the ticking clock, but then he needed her to get there, so it's like there was no ticking clock.
The whole front half of this second movie is, like I said, it's just football. It's them just passing the orb back and forth until finally they just both go to the field together.
Yeah.
However, you have seen the exact position. You could save me hours, days even. Help me, I make it worth your while.
No.
So as always on this podcast, we ask 3 questions that lead to a final vote of is it worth going back again? And the first question is, does it work as a sequel? So I'll start off this one and I'll say that I do think it works as a sequel on paper. They do give you a different story. They do try to make it somewhat bigger. Like, I mean, it's this kind of continuous theme that we've been talking about on this podcast of the illusion of progression or like the illusion of like growth. I don't think they actually like execute it well or actually get that across, but on paper it works as a sequel and it doesn't really take anything away from the first one. So just by the bare bones minimum, I think it works as a sequel. Like it's got all the action in there. It's got big ridiculous stuff. It's got all the different locations and it's got a MacGuffin that's like, you know, end of the world, life changing. And, you know, the MacGuffin in the first one didn't have to do with like apocalyptic anything. So that's why I say on paper, this works as a sequel.
I don't think it does. Just because it's got the skeleton doesn't mean that it's, you know, doing what it needs to successfully tell a follow-up story. There needs to be something connecting all of these pieces. And I understand what you're saying, where those pieces are there. There is a good world, there's a good character, but there's not the stuff that's filling it in or connecting it or however you want to like visually portray that. And to me, I guess it is just a matter of different opinion, because those pieces are there and they're not connected doesn't mean that it succeeds on this question.
That's you're applying succeeds. I'm not saying it succeeds. I'm saying it works. Because if you're just like, let's say you just watch the first one, then you just watch the second one, it works. Like,
are you saying it's like you're saying it's consistent?
It's not as good as the first one, but it's not like the first one was ever that great to begin with. Like the things that they should have taken away from the first one, they kind of do with the second one, but they misinterpret what works about that first one. So they kind of give you more of everything, but I would argue it's stuff that I didn't even want to see with her that they gave me.
That does not work for me.
But that sounds like it's going to get a check and an X to start. But like I said, my check is very like bare bones minimum. So
is it a faded check?
It's a check, but it's just like,
half a check.
It just made it. It's like when somebody gets a participation award.
Okay, it got the participation check.
It did.
Okay.
So the second question is going to be, is it enjoyable / entertaining?
It's going to get an X from me. There were some moments that were like campy, but for me to like really give a check based off of campiness, it has to be like consistently campy. This is just like a few random moments, like the shark punch. It's like I can't give a movie a check when it consistently reminds me about Escape from LA moments. And this movie did that at least twice. So I can't in good faith give it a check. It fails just based off of that merit. It reminded me too much of Escape from LA.
Yeah. I mean, I think this movie was easier to watch than Another 48 Hours. Like, it wasn't as boring. But, it was boring, but it was boring on a different level. Like, there were more things for you to kind of watch while you were bored. Whereas in, the Another 48 Hours was just boring.
At least Another 48 Hours had that character dynamic, though. It had something that it was leaning into. The world is just so inconsistent, it can't really lean into that reliably.
the reason why I gave it a check in the first one is because I agree with you. I do not think it's enjoyable / entertaining. So like it works as a sequel, like barely, but yeah, it's not enjoyable or entertaining. And it probably would have been more enjoyable if it was campy like that. But it's also, you know, it's just kind of going through the motions to some extent. Also, it's kind of just giving you what you think you want to see as far as like kind of big set pieces, but they're not even that big and they don't look that good. I will say that Gerard Butler is enjoyable / entertaining. Angelina Jolie, like all the performances besides the main bad guy are there. They're kind of flat. They're kind of stale.
They don't have much to work with, I feel like, at all.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a thing to where it's not interesting what Gerard Butler and Angelina Jolie are saying to each other, but then you have them both jumping off of a building and then like, you know, like soaring through the sky and then parachuting down. So they're giving them stuff to do. They're just not giving them stuff to say to each other. So that sounds like it's going to get another 2 checks. So the final question is going to be, does it need to exist? And I'll make this one quick. I do not think it needs to exist. In fact, I think that a lot of people don't even know that this movie exists, to be honest. Because when you think of Lara Croft, you just think of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, right? It's very kind of, I mean, it's based off of a game, but it's very kind of clean cut.
And it's clean. It's 1 subtitle, not 2.
Yeah, the Lara Croft Tomb Raider Cradle of Life. Like, even when you Google this movie, like, you have to, like, type in all of that just to find it. I think it could have existed, like we said, just to kind of, you know, pony off of the last thing that we were talking about. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to exist. I mean, if this is what you're going to give us, then it doesn't need to exist. It should exist. It could exist. But based off of what they got us, like, no, like this is very forgettable. And, you know, it'd be one of those things where I think if you don't see the second one, you'll like the first one more.
It's so funny because, like, if I was an adult during, like, the time these movies came out, and because you can directly compare this, I feel like, to The Mummy. So if, like, hypothetically, Tomb Raider comes out and then Mummy comes out, and then both sequels got announced, I would have bet money that the Tomb Raider one would have been so much better. There was such a bigger world. There was so much more to play with. You have, I think, potentially a better character than Rick O'Connell if you really like had a good writer working with her. And then The Mummy on the flip side is so limited. It's about the mummy. They already defeated him. How's he going to come back? It's probably going to be super played out. And then those sequels get released, and then The Mummy Returns ends up being so much better than Cradle of Life. I would have that would have blown my mind if I had seen that happening in real time.
So if you're doing that math at home, that's going to be 1 check and 5 X's. So it's going to get 1 giant X for not worth going back again. And yeah, you know, it's disappointing because I like Lara Croft as a character. I enjoy the first one because of its campiness. They don't really lean into the campiness of the second one. They just make kind of just dumb scenes to put Lara Croft in. So as always, thanks for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, that you comment below, and make sure you follow us on all streaming platforms. You can also watch full episodes with video on YouTube. Special shout out to Neely for doing our intro and our outro song. And yeah, outside of that, I mean, you got anything else to add, Drew?
I'm not leaving because I couldn't kill you. I'm leaving because I could.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.